So this presentation will outline my philosophy and why I coach the way I coach and why I coach how I coach. My philosophy in effect has five key areas: adaptability and flexibility, passion and friendship, energy and hard work, camaraderie and teamwork, and cultural understanding and slow development. And I explain each one through a medium of an experience. I'll try to anyway. It might take a while, but I hope you enjoy following me on this little bit of a journey. My first key influence is my father. My dad is a very well renowned coach within the game, and fortunately through myself, I spent a lot of time following and watching him. I think one of the main things that I learned about him was his energy and hard work for business. Everywhere he was, he came in there with a real energy to do the best he could and gave everything he could. And you know, to the detriment of myself at times. I knew that I would not see him until 9 p.m. at night and he'd be leaving at 7 a.m. in the morning, but I understood the value of hard work and the hours that you need to put in to be successful. Um, so, yeah, I think that that's my main key influence growing up, and particularly why I fell in love with football and football coaching was my father's influence and, the energy and the hard work that he put into that to make me realise, this is how you are successful within not just this game but within your life in general. My dad's club, when I first really remember, was Notts County. He was the head of the Centre of Excellence there. And I was between 5 and 8 years old, and I would go down every day of the week and watch my dad coach, watch all the other coaches coach, and I'd watch his relationships more than anything, his interactions with people. I think that led to that idea of passion, friendship. He really cared about everyone there, and then in turn they cared about me. So he wasn't bothered with taking me down and him going and doing a session because he knew because he cared about other people, he had an interest in other people, that they would take an interest in me and they'd look after me. And it stuck with me for a while that I still know people now and they've seen me grow up and they've spent that time with me. But the reason why they cared about me that much was because of my dad's passion and friendship between with them and his interest in those as people. And at the same time, I experienced a coaching environment as a young child. I was watching structures and how a session looked, and I was always stood there with my pair of boots in case they were a player down and they wanted someone to play. That was just me. That was the way I was, and it really helped with my development as a coach. I think looking back, one of the main real effects of my life sort of was the turmoil of a parental split. I mean, I spent most of the time with my mum. I learned a lot about hard work from my mum as well. She brought myself and my sister up pretty much on her own throughout the week. I'd see my dad on weekends, but throughout the week she'd do everything. She'd run us from sport to different class from school, and she'd also hold down a full-time job at the same time. And it made me quite resilient and understand the real need for hard work, but also that family aspect, and it really made me invest more in personal relationships because I know how valuable they are now. Me and my sister are the tightest brother and sister you could imagine. We speak daily, we get on very well, and it's a lot deeper than a brother sister relationship. It's we're best friends, and that's really down to the parental split and the energy on hard work that my mum showed, and also that passion to really build a really strong personal relationship. And I think that's led into my coaching of really wanting to be personal with people and understand what's going on behind the scenes with them, because I know at times I was naughty at school, I was poorly behaved, but as a kid that was me acting up because of what was going on at home more than me more than me just being a sod. And that was the thing. The teachers and the people that were coaching or teaching me at the time had to know that there was much more going on behind the scenes. So I think that ability to understand what's going on behind the scenes has really grown from the parental split that I experienced when I was quite young. One of the upsides, if there was any, of my parents splitting was that my dad moved to Fulham FC. I lived in Nottingham for most of the year, but during the holidays, the summer holidays, the Christmas holidays, the Easter holidays, I would spend all my time with him, and I'd live in London with him, and that was amazing for me because his office overlooked the first team training pitch, and I'd watch Roy Hodgson, Chris Coleman, Mark Hughes taking teams, and it was an invaluable experience for me. And one of the main things I really picked up from that was that camaraderie and teamwork. My dad knew all the players, but because he knew all the players, they all knew me. And all I had the likes of Clint Dempsey, Andy Johnson, Dixon Atuhu, players like that were showing me around the training ground, Mark Schwarzer, and they were fine with me. They'd take me to lunch, and if my dad was working, they didn't hesitate to include me and make sure that I was okay and play table tennis, pool with me. And that, I think, I got that energy of camaraderie and teamwork and everyone pulling the same way from this experience. And also, obviously, I got the idea of watching the best coach and get an understanding of how a real elite environment works. As a kid, always and still now to this day, I'm a massive Liverpool fan. Michael Owen was my hero in the '98 World Cup. I was 4.5 years of age, and I saw this 18-year-old kid, 14 years older than me. In my eyes, I was the next Michael Owen, and he dribbled half the length of the pitch and put it past the Argentina goalkeeper, and I was obsessed. I was fixated with this young man, and that led to me loving Liverpool. As I grew up, I started to understand the game a bit on a deeper level at about 11, 12 years of age. I really remember watching Benitez's Liverpool and appreciating the pressing essence and also the Spanish style he brought and the ability to really give freedom to his wingers. I think was a really important thing. You know, the likes of Luis Garcia, he would really allow it to be free and have some real sort of individuality on the ball. And I think that really influenced me with that cultural understanding and slow development. He slowly built the team in his frame and his way, Benitez did, and I think that's something that's lent itself to me now. Gerrard, growing up, he defined everything I love: his passion, energy, and desire to be the best for his club. And the reason why he did that was because it was his club. And I think now, when I think back, I want when I go to a club to feel like it's my club, and I'll give everything I can because it's my club. And no matter where I've coached overseas in England, I will always try and build it to be my club and make it me really passionate about it and support them myself. At the same time, the perfect enemy at this point was Mourinho. I used to sit and watch him, and I used to love his energy and drive and his determination to be the best, and also everything that went along with him. He was a superb character to watch on and off the field, and he created a really good enemy, and it was an enemy that he couldn't help but really love, and it was very, very difficult to sit and be part of, but his style and his methodology really, really contrasted with Benitez's, and it created a really, really good era for me as a young boy growing up watching that. My first team that I coached, I was 16. I decided to give it a go. We were the worst team in Nottingham at the age group. We're an under 14 team that hadn't won in 2 years. And I was terrible. I was horrible to them. I thought it was their fault, they were rubbish. I didn't realise that there was more to it about them being poor as a team. And as I grew as a coach, in those year and a half that I took them, I learned how to be patient and then also how to redefine success. We didn't have an amazing group, but we had to understand that this was where we were and how we could redefine the success to make them feel like they were doing really well. So, the first thing that we did, I think, when I started to understand that was keep the ball out of our penalty area, and then it was keep the ball out of our half, and then it was try and win the ball back in their half. And, we started to build on that. And I remember the first time we won a game, we won 4-2. And it was after about 6 months of coaching. And there was parents that were genuinely almost in tears to see their kids win for the first time in 2.5 years. And looking back now, I would apologise to the kids because I was horrible to them at times. But I would also smile at it because I'm sure they'd appreciate how far I've come and how far they came at the same time. When I finished my A-levels, I took a year out and I worked at Nottingham Forest as a sports science intern. I worked there daily. I was taking urine. I got there at 7 a.m. To test the urine of the players, their hydration levels. I also took their wellness results. I supported the video analysis and strength and conditioning, and I tried to put reports together by 9 a.m. So I had a really quick turnaround between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So I had to be really sharp in the mornings. That taught me a lot about that hard work again and that energy that you need to be really good, and make sure I delivered it to the coaches so they understood if there was any wellness concerns or hydration concerns before training started at 10. I observed top coaches, my dad, Steve Chettle, Tom Mallington, day in, day out. I was involved in the under 18s and 21s training, even if it was just picking up the balls and putting them back in. I'd help out with the gym work, and it really showed me as a coach, how important that hard work is to putting off the field into planning, the interactions and the development of a high quality environment. It was trying to get everyone to pull the same way and be pulling in the same direction, and that was a real starting point for the academy at Forest at that point. It was 2012, 2013, so it was a real 0 point to try and make it into something new, and being in part of that environment really helped me to understand. And again, it's that cultural understanding and slow development. The culture was different at the club at the time when I first arrived, and I saw how, as much as people who were in charge wanted to come in and change everything at once, they understood the necessity to do it bit by bit, and that's now something that I really take into my work elsewhere. The next part of my development was I went to Coventry to study sport and exercise science. But one of the main things that I really enjoyed about it was the ability to influence the Men's Football Society. There's a massive drinking culture when I arrived. There was 80 members of the club, and 81 would go out on a Wednesday night and go out and drink, and that would be it. So we'd train on the Monday night, and then we'd play on a Wednesday, and then on a Wednesday you'd go out, and then you wouldn't see everyone until Monday again. In my first year, I was the fourth team coach. In the second year, third team manager and the head of football development, which was termed as the football activator. And in my final year, I was the second team manager and the president of the whole club. I found it as an opportunity to develop my own culture and implement it on the club. As fourth team coach, we went from training once a week to twice a week. We found a Friday session that we could do. And as I went on to third team manager and the head of football development, we then developed 2 more teams. So we went from having 4 teams to 6 teams, and we created a catchment bowl as well. So once a week we'd take extra sessions with anyone that wanted to turn up, just in case we missed anyone on the trial days or anything like that. So we were creating a real football culture around the university, that everyone could be involved in the society, and we weren't missing people. And then in my final year as president, we made the final jump from doing 3 sessions a week to 4 sessions a week plus a game day. And then we also emphasised the hard work element. We said if you want to go out on a Wednesday night, well, we have to train on the Monday morning, the Monday night, and then we've got to train on the Friday morning, the Friday night, and we'd really overload the guys on a Monday and a Friday and work really hard with them, but they'd get the reward of the Wednesday night out. And it was really nice to see that success as my time went on. We got the third team promoted when I was there. We then became the second team because we actually finished above the second team in that year, so I became the second team manager. We stayed up in the league after we got promoted quite comfortably, and as president, we achieved the best ever books point total ever at Coventry University, and that record still stands, and that's something that I'm very proud of. And it showed that, to me, I look back and I said, I'm not bad at this. I can create a culture. I can understand that slow development of doing things sequentially in that 3 years, doing bit by bit and adding something new every year to make it the norm that last year was acceptable. The norm that last year was the acceptable limit, and now we need to push further, and it came from real energy and hard work and getting everyone together and that camaraderie and teamwork. So that's something else that I picked up when I was at Coventry. Abroad, I've been to numerous countries, and I learned a different thing from each one. In Mongolia, it was understanding that people had only watched football on TV before, like real proper football, so they saw a snapshot, an effect of the game. So they might see 3 attackers versus 4 defenders rather than the whole field, and that meant that they saw the game as a lot of 1v1s and 2v1s, rather than the full scale of the picture and what does the defender do when the striker has it, and so on and so forth. So that wasn't something that I learnt there about how to translate the game to people that haven't actually seen it before. In the Turks and Caicos, it was very, very similar. There was a lack of organisation, but they had a brilliance 1v1. So it was working out how to bring that brilliance to the fore, and make them see how it looked with the rest of the team, and how the team can really help a really good 1v1 player to become the best they can be. And in Gibraltar, it was how to organise disorganised people. They were so poorly disorganised there. There was no real training structure when I turned up. They probably trained once a week, and by the end of it we were training 6 days a week plus a game day. We had a physical gym program going for some of the boys as well. So in that few weeks that I had over there, we really turned something into something quite aggressive. And after I left, we were really happy to see that the team that I coached got to the Gibraltarian Premier League that year and got promoted. That was really something that we're really, really proud of as well. Now I live in Cayman. It's really an amalgamation of all those overseas experiences. We have to create a team that can dominate 1v1 and we create a structure around our best players. So for example, we have Jonah and Mark Ebanks, not brothers, not related, but two of the best players in the country, attacking wise, if not the two best. And we have to create a structure around them to give them space and the ability to play. And some players almost have to understand that they have to play a sacrificial role for the team, that they will stand out wide, but they will create space centrally for Jonah and Mark to really cause some problems and go and score some goals. And they might not be involved all the time, but the real emphasis is on winning for us, and getting Jonah and Mark the ball when they can get themselves into space. And it's creating that ethos now and that cultural understanding of a slow development. I could be here for 5 years and I won't get the team where I want it, but there's sequential steps that we have to take slowly and slowly, because if I came in and I tried to change the culture like that, they would go, well, who's this guy? See you later, pal. And they would rubbish me. But if I do it bit by bit and sequentially, then we can really, really work to improve ourselves as a group, and more so as a footballing culture. And hopefully we can be the flag bearers at academy for the nation's football moving forwards. So why? My life experience have shaped my coaching, because it's inevitable that my beliefs and my understanding will come from the environment around me. And that's something I'm very proud of. My background is a different one. I've loads of different experiences. I'm 24, so I feel like I've learned a lot in the short time coaching, the short 8 years that I've had coaching. But the experiences from my parents breaking up, and to spending a year in Nottingham Forest, to going abroad to Mongolia, they have shaped the way I see the game, but more so shaped the way I coach and the way I act around people. And one of the main things I learned really from reading and being abroad is that you have to have non-negotiables when you go in. Yes, you have that cultural understanding that we spoke about, and that slow development, but there has to be non-negotiables. And there's 3 traits I look at anyone that I look for in anyone within my coaching environment, be it a coach, a player, someone around the club, a physio, for example. And they have to be honest, they have to be trustworthy, and they have to have commitment. And they have to have all 3 of them at the same time, because without honesty, you can't trust each other. So an example being, I have to tell my players where they are and where they're at in relation to where I want them to be, and they have to trust that that's me being honest with them. But then I also have to trust them that they're going to take it on board and they're going to be committed to make that work for them in their heads. So that's really something that, as alongside those 5 key areas of my philosophy, that is what I look for in everyone that we have. And I want to really, really imprint wherever I go as a non-negotiable. You have to be honest, you have to trust each other, and you have to have commitment. And that's something that's built over a period of time. And again, it's that slow development. But you have to be adaptable and flexible to the situation that you're thrown into. That happens when you go abroad, because you can't go in, chuck everything out. You have to slowly, incrementally build it into where you want to go, without the guys noticing that you're trying to change them as much. Anyway, I've absolutely elaborated beyond belief. If you want me to do this shorter, Gary and et al., please let me know. To be honest, the PowerPoint experience and recording it, I've gone through this 3 or 4 times now, and talking about it, just sat in a room on my own, has really, really helped for me to cement and understand where my philosophy is. And yes, while being concise is nice, 18 minutes is probably going to be a bit long for you guys, but it's really, really helped me, and I hope you appreciate the level of depth that I've gone to as to understanding why I coach the way I do, and how much I've reflected on every experience that I've pretty much had within football, to make sure that I don't leave any stone unturned in my sort of understanding of why I am the coach I am and why my philosophy is the way it is. Anyway, thanks for letting me do this. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want a shorter one, just let me know. I can make it shorter and go through it again. I'm sure I can be more concise, but many thanks. Cheers.